Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. You know, get to work together to attach. So would it be helpful if I just you guys like write up about this? Absolutely. Things that you're looking something to escape, you know, have a conversation that I changed yes, the they're going to be able to speak in 5 days. I'll take in 1 or 2 minutes. Working with her. Use the perfect time. This does great. Because she has to answer. Nice. Not a bit on those. So see. Yeah. It's a big deal. I know. Definitely. We did it. That's not like
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. All right. I think this is new. I got a big loud voice, luckily. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're so excited to be in Berkeley. So my name is Eden Chan, and I have the honor of serving as Congresswoman Lateefah Simon's District Director, representing and serving all of you. So I'm based out here in the district. We've got a fabulous office in Oakland. I want to shout out our team that's in the room. I think you've met some of them. We've got Helser and Ellie and Kisha. So that's our mighty, small but mighty district team. We are all here to serve you. With that, I want to extend a special thank you to the Ed Roberts campus for partnering with us and hosting us tonight. We are so honored to be here. As our Congresswoman said, we are home here. And so we're so thrilled. Also, special thank you to Shelby and Sarah for taking incredible care of us tonight. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of CIL to share some more welcome remarks. So please come on up, Victor.
Thank you. Well, microphone.
Yes.
Welcome to the Ed Roberts campus. One more time. Yes. There we go. Welcome to the Ed Roberts campus. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Try the other microphone. It's not very good. Welcome to the Ed Roberts campus. I think it's exciting to have Congresswoman here representing only this district with values. This is a moment where values and how we align our values and defend those values come to life. This building is an expression, a physical expression of the values to equity, inclusion, diversity, accessibility, everything we love about the Bay Area, about this place that we call home. And this building could not have been possible without, history, without activism, without leadership, right? And so we know that the future must be informed by our history. We have to place it. And so this building really is a miracle. This is not just a building for disability rights. It's a building for all of us to feel like we belong. It's a very fitting opportunity to provide this space for all of us as we navigate a lot of uncertain times and as we lend our support to our Congresswoman and those elected officials that are fighting for us. Because we need to stick together. This Center for the Independent Living is now in its 54th year. And it was a beacon of hope. A beacon of hope that now has spread to 408 independent living centers across the country and around the world. So this is what happens when people come together. We can create new models that create not only impact for our communities, but create a model for the world to follow. So this is where you're at Center for Independent Living. And it's your service support. With senior supports, with supports for people with disabilities, that are navigating challenging times, counseling support, a lot of supports. So please count on us to be with you and during this period and to continue to support our members. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you so much. I'd also like to give a couple other shout outs and acknowledgements. We've got some folks representing some elected offices here. So I want to shout out, we've got folks here from Senator Aaron Dean's office. We've got someone from Assemblymember Wick's office. Woo! We've got someone from Mayor E's office. We also have Councilmember Igor, and we've got the Berkeley Rec Board represented. I also want to thank Councilmember Bartlett, really wanted to be here tonight, but was unable to. But we've got his Chief of Staff, James, here in the room, who's also going to, thank you, give it up for James. Who's also going to very graciously open us up with a land acknowledgement.
Thank you. The city of Berkeley recognizes that the community we live in was built on the territory of the Huichinyu and the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. The ancestors and the descendants of the sovereign Verona band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to all the Ohlone tribes and descendants of the Verona band. As we begin our meeting tonight, we acknowledge and honor the original inhabitants of Berkeley, the documented 5,000 years history of vibrant community at the West Berkeley Shell Line, and the Ohlone people who continue to reside in the East Bay. We recognize that Berkeley's residents have and continue to benefit from the use and occupation of this unceded stolen land since the city of Berkeley's incorporation in 1987. As stewards of our community, it is not only vital that we recognize the history of this land, but also recognize that the Ohlone people are present members of Berkeley and other East Bay communities today. The city of Berkeley will continue to build relationships with the Lishan tribe and create meaningful actions that uphold the intention of this land acknowledgement. And thank you. And Councilmember Bartlett wanted me to tell you in these exact words, Congresswoman, the Congresswoman is like a sister to me. I'm praying for you for your safety, strength, and perseverance in taking this rogue government headed by the adversary. Who we do not need to name. Congresswoman Simon, where there is lies, deliver truth. Where there is pain, deliver hope. And when they try to break democracy, hold the line. And remember, all doors open. Thank you. And welcome to South Berkeley.
Thank you so much, James. All right, get into business. So, again, again, I'm Eden. I will be your moderator for tonight's program. So my job is to keep us on time. Tonight, we will hear an update from our Congresswoman. And then after this update, I will facilitate a Q&A. There are staff members around the room that have half sheets of paper. We would love it if you could write down your questions and turn it in to one of our staff members. We will use those papers and consolidate them into categories and try to hit as many of the questions that we get a lot of here tonight. But at the same time, we also want to hear from you. So we will open up the mic for live Q&A as well after the written questions. So we'll be trying to strike a balance this evening with sharing important updates and also leaving enough time for the Q&A portion. But we do have limited time in this space, so I just really want to encourage you, if you can, to fill out a half sheet. Even if we don't get to your question tonight, it's important for us to know what y'all are concerned about. So we do take all of those sheets and we log all of your questions, and we will do our best to make sure that we answer them in follow-up newsletters and postings. So filling out a half sheet also ensures that you're added to our newsletter distribution. So thank you. With that, I'm excited to kick us off by introducing your Congresswoman Lateefah Simon.
Well, I have really bad eyes. I can see there's a lot of people here. And I'm so happy that you all came. And I feel like if I sit down, you guys can't see me in the back when I sit down, right? Those of you all with vision. So, you know what? I'm going to try. This one is better? Okay. I have some great notes that staff prepared for me. And I'm gonna figure it out. That's been also very difficult being in Congress with such amazing, wonderful staff, and they get all the stats together. But I'm an organizer, and so there's a kind of push and pull. I want to thank you all for coming out, particularly folks, we're everyone, particularly folks from my community, the disabled community, who came out and knowing how difficult even it is in a region with 27 transit providers, how difficult it is for disabled folks to get to and from. We have so much work to do in this region to make sure that mobility is deeply a right instead of a privilege. So thank you so much. Thank you for the parents and the elders, the folks who are coming on. My expectation here tonight is not for it to be an easy conversation because these are not easy times. When I read, I was really clear. Politicians are not gods. They need to be challenged and held accountable. Thank you so much for calling by the hundreds to our office every single day. I will tell you before I get into what we try to do actually up here was, for folks who are sighted, to give some of the updates of what we've done in the past 5 months so that I don't have to bore you for the next 20 minutes. Hopefully I can take a little less than that, talking to you all about, what we're doing, what we're trying to do. But one of the things that I think is most important to me, because we can tell you, yes, I passed a bill. Yes, the Dems have put me into leadership. Yes, I'm on 2 committees that I believe that are very, very consequential to the future of this republic. Yes, we're taking amazing calls from you all every day. We've returned over $55,000 to some members of this community and Social Security. Yes, we've been out on the streets. Yes. And I also want to let you know, as a new member, it's a very, very, very difficult place to be in DC, but it's not more difficult than being someone without a key here. It's not more difficult than burying your young. It's not more difficult than spending 3 hours waiting for paratransit or 8 years being on a housing list. A lot of our folks in this district and around the country have been suffering before Trump. They will continue to suffer, and our job, my job in particular, as a person that you hired, whether you voted for me or not, I am responsible to deliver our values to DC every single day. I want to also be explicit, and I know my chief of staff is watching from DC, and she's like, okay, here she goes. It's not in the notes. She's wonderful. Wow, I have a wonderful team in DC and a wonderful team here. We work really hard to find people who, like my own training, are servants. There's no self-importance about being a servant. I want to be clear for folks here in the room who have questions about where I stand on foreign policy. Every single life that is lost is devastating. And I will always, in my training as a 30-year-old organizer, I will talk about the oppressed every moment I get an opportunity, because those who are not with us cannot speak for themselves. I will always talk about the dignity of Palestinian and Jews in the same sentence. Always. Always. We'll always talk about homeless people here as people who are experiencing the worst times of their lives in a government who can't meet the mark. I will always, always bring forth the possibility of who we can be, regardless of how we were born and who we were born to. So you will see me, honestly, sometimes maybe struggling with words, but never struggling with the value. You will never see me turning my back on trans children. You will never, ever see me not fighting for the singular vision of a people trying to find their way. You will never see me turn my back on reparations. You will never, ever, ever see me on the floor not voting my values. Will I make a mistake? Of course, and I want you to call me out on that. But I took this job. I took this job because, in fact, as someone, and many of you all know me, as a disabled woman, as one of the first, actually the first congenitally blind woman, legally blind woman, to ever be in Congress. Is the only woman in Congress right now who's a single mother with a school-age child, both on the Senate side and the House side. I drop my little baby off at 8th grade every single morning, and I go to that Capitol, and I want to speak for you all. So quantitatively, yes, I can list off the things that we are working on. I am on two very important committees. The Oversight Committee, which is essentially the board of directors in Congress. It sucks. You know why it sucks? It's because we don't have the House. And so Mike Johnson and his cronies, they get to set the agenda. They get to set the agenda for every single committee. When we have hearings, why don't you call a hearing, Lateefah? Would love to. When you don't have power over the committee, you can't call a hearing. What you can do is call one witness. As the Dems, we have one witness. Usually they'll have three. You will see me in committee telling our stories, telling the truth every single time. The stories that you call in about, I tell them, we tell them. That is my job. I'm also on Small Business Committee. It's not the sexiest committee in Congress, but let me tell you something. This neighborhood, this here neighborhood right here, South Berkeley, and throughout the 6 other cities in my district, they're not big box cities. The life breath of both entrepreneurship and the goal of immigrant communities and communities that have been here for very long is based on the opportunity to actually succeed, and most of that success has come from small businesses. I know that. While SBA continues to be shuttered by the Trump administration, you know that you will have me in committee fighting like hell so they don't close our San Francisco office. And we bring more resources here for folks who are just trying to make it. I cannot buy a sock downtown Oakland. We have a problem. Being able to support small businesses and entrepreneurs and culture is signature to what it means to be in America. You know, again, the 250 letters that we've signed on to, everything from supporting immigration and the opportunity for folks to do what we know is American, leave persecution and have a place here. That's the counterpoint to me of the work that we have to do in Congress. We are losing the democracy, but it's not in hospice, it is in ICU, and there is an opportunity to fight back and win. There is an opportunity to fight back and win. So the last thing I want to say, and I know I had so many pretty things and sentences in that beautiful binder, but I really folks are hurting. So I don't want to give a TED talk, right? I don't want to do that. I want you to know that I'm coming here early and I'm leaving late. I wanted to talk to you briefly about the reconciliation process and that big, horrible, nasty, cruel bill. Well, we haven't lost yet. It feels like that. It feels like that. And many of us know my mother is on Social Security and she has a pension and she was a VA worker. And I know if my mother is worried, she lives in a small apartment in the Sunset, she's worried about her lifeblood. I know half the folks in this room are as well. You know, I remember my mother trying to get Social Security for me, you know, as a visually impaired child and what that felt like for her. I also remember what it felt like for me when my husband Kevin died and I had to line up in a long line just around the corner at the Social Security office downtown in the morning for 6 hours. I felt like I was there to get a $600 death benefit. Like, I know what we deserve. And this 1,000-page bill, it is in every sentence,
It's taking not only us back to the 1950s America, it is gutting all that you have built in terms of infrastructure and safety. It guts ADA, it guts Medicaid, it cuts Medicare. It actually savages, it's savage. It's savage. So I was very, very honored when the leadership asked me to submit 2 amendments to the bill. And some of you might have seen some of that testimony that I gave to the Rules Committee last week. And I told them what I felt was folks needed to hear, the policies and the politics. Democrats have to tell the stories of real folk, real people that we're suffering. So we came in at 1 a.m. that morning because in the dark of the night, the chair of the Rules Committee, so there's a ton of committees in Congress. This bill had to be developed in every single committee. Again, these committees are all run by Republicans. The chairs are all Republicans. And the last step before it hits the House floor is the Rules Committee. They gabbled in at 1 a.m. thinking that we weren't going to show up. Oh, did we show up? And the Dems have been struggling, I know, with messaging. Oh, we got real clear. We got real clear because people will die. And I was allowed to, as a freshman, to give testimony. And I hope you saw what I was trying to do. Is hold the line for District 12. We're going to consistently, every single day that we are collectively on the Hill, we're going to tell our story. Well, the bill passed by 1 vote. The margin is so slim. But let me tell you, folks in Idaho and in West Virginia, in South Florida, who voted red, they didn't vote. And this is where our compassion has to come in. They didn't vote for this. And so the work that we must do is to continue to hold the line and also be everywhere all the time as electeds. And folks who are holding movement here. I see some invisible folks are here. Some gold pink is here. There's some folks here who have been holding the line. We will take back the Congress within the next 18 months. The work that will have to be done is for us to continue to stand up, both on the congressional floor, but also here in our communities, and holding me accountable and holding your other members accountable. I believe, though, while this bill did move through the House, 1 point, the work moving forward for me, not just putting other bills in the hopper, we will do that. I will continue to work to legislate while I am in Congress. But the work now is about organizing the Senate, both the Reds and the Blues, to have some damn heart, to be able to have some sense of humanity and not literally taking the healthcare away from 14 million Americans. Cutting SNAP and stealing literally food from the mouths of babes. I think regardless of what you think about the Democratic Party, I feel it. We're all feeling it. Where are our people? But Hakeem Jeffries did say something that was so clear at 6 in the morning when we finally got to vote after being up all night. One of the things that he said is that the folks on the other side of the aisle will pray, P-R-A-Y, on Sunday, and they came on Monday to pray, P-R-E-Y, on children, the disabled, queer people, trans people. We won't have that. Evil cannot sustain. I have to believe that. So I'm going to stop now, not give you a ton of stats, and be self-proud of what we've been doing in Congress, because we haven't even started yet. And the power of these real folks in every single town hall are going to give us really the continued courage to throw down. Republicans aren't doing town halls. And they should be ashamed of themselves, because for each vote that they have given, both in committees and on the floor just last week, they're really continuing their assault on the American people. Thank you for being here, and I want to take your questions. Again, thank you for being here.
Right. Thank you, Congresswoman.
I told you, give me some hard ones, and they don't have to be easy. Y'all didn't come for easy.
So first question, how can we combat ableism in the public education system?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew. Let me tell you why. I'm gonna try both of them now. So the question is, how do we combat ableism in our public school system? Well, it's not by completely annihilating OCR, right? The Office of Civil Rights. So what we are going to have to do, and I'm clear, they are trying to tear down. Hi, Fran. I see your friends here. They have torn down components of the federal government that many of you have helped to build. In the Department of Education, we know that there have been standards that were built by some of the pioneers in this room to protect disabled children in K through 12. God bless them. The Trump administration, they have severed the Department of Education, including the Office of Civil Rights, which investigated violations of disabled children, rape on college campuses. I can go on, but set standards throughout the country that children, despite their disabilities, deserved an equal education. Now, those rights were never given, they were fought for. They were fought for. Literally, people died to ensure, fought, created careers and new organizations and buildings to fight for children in classrooms who used to be literally in segregated spaces in schools, staring at the walls all day. There was a movement for children like myself to have support in occupational therapy. I don't know about the visually impaired people in this room who had a vision teacher. I used to run away from mine in high school, but from K through 10, I'm so blessed by that man and the advocates that made sure that man trained other young people. Mr. Dingus was his name, like myself, to how to integrate and be, if at all possible, in sighted places. The House admin is a great department within the House of Representatives. But do you know that we have been struggling in the House, to get a website that's accessible to blind people? Fighting, right? These spaces were not made for us. We have to take our chairs, pull ourselves up to the table. But one of the reasons why I ran for office was to, in every single sentence, in every single story, in every single committee, in every single letter, center the hopes and the dreams and the rights of disabled people and children. So they have shuttered the Department of Education, but we will build it back up. How many institutions have fallen that we have had to build back up? So the question is, I wish I could say, what do we do tomorrow? One, we throw folks out of office who don't deserve to be there, who are preying on our children. But in the interim, so much of what happens in our counties, the day-to-day politics, it's here, right? So our school boards, Berkeley School Board, Albany School Board, Oakland, San Leandro, Emeryville, Piedmont, who did I forget? So we're gonna have a long conversation about redistricting because they took Contra Costa County out of California's 12th district. I'm very sad about that because Ms. Barbara Lee actually had a lot of Contra Costa. I have 7 cities now. My brother up here mentioned Contra Costa County. So we're 7 cities, but those school boards in those districts and our county school board, even in a time of darkness that's coming from the federal government, we just have to double down. And I have to double down. One of the things I really, really wanted to do and will continue to do in these first 2 years is work with and wrangle our electeds to make sure that they're in this time of tyranny doing everything that we can do to just hold the line. So whoever asks that question, I want to make sure that you're connecting with our office and with me. We have some more work to do because what we have depended on the federal government for to protect our folks, I'm sorry, I don't know if we're going to get that in the next 2 years. And so we got. I will be fighting. I'm a street fighter with these glasses, but in the interim, let's take care of our children. And if you are on a school site committee, if you are on the school board, if you are, in a K through 12 space, I would encourage you all to center disabled children at this time. Their parents are struggling and they're hurting. They don't know what 2026 is going to look like.
And so whether we're advocating on the state level with our assembly members who are wonderful, and you're pushing me to make sure that ADA doesn't go away, and other members of the elected community nationally, you know you have a constant warrior in me around disability rights in action. I'm so excited to work with some of the organizations in this building. I've asked them all to give me their to-do list, and every single, again, opportunity that I have, I want to make sure that we're centering young people who deserve everything and who, unfortunately, because of our administration, they have DEI, they have put A in there, right, around accessibility, and they're saying that folks don't deserve accessibility. Like, things are really horrible, but you know what? There's a lot of us, and we're gonna fight back, and we're gonna win. I'll go a little bit quicker because we got to get through it.
How, I have a big loud voice. How are you standing up to defend and protect immigrant community members during this time of horrific attacks? What hope do you have right now?
We got to take care of folks because I don't know what other politicians are saying. I'm very scared for our folks who are seeking asylum, our folks who are without papers, who are, again, working with their whole bodies, who are leaving spaces of persecution. These folks are Black, they're Latino, they're Asian Americans who have been here forever, they're students. In Florida, I just read about a student who has been here his whole life. Literally came here when he was about 1 year old, is a dreamer. And because of the Florida law, he is now being asked to pay international tuition. And do you know that dreamers are not eligible already for federal resources? They can't fill out the FAFSA. They oftentimes don't get state work. I want to let you know, if you have issues with immigrants, you talk to your own child. They see who they're sitting next to. They're sitting next to a young person who they deeply care about. I wish we could be as fierce as our children. What am I doing about the immigration ridiculousness? I mean, one, everything possible at this point, and I can always do more. We can always do more. One, listen, what's happening is illegal, but they don't care. The administration refuses to follow the law. But I gotta say, of the 323 cases that have been filed by good organizations and folks that we're working with, like the ACLU and Democracy Forward, 100, as of today, 177 cases have actually gone our way. Yes. And that has slowed down the Trump administration's primarily attack on folks who are doing what we know is what's American, leaving persecution and coming to this country to work their tails off, to not only leave persecution, but to add. Who is gonna do your heart surgery? Not just folks that have been saying, landscaping. When I visited the CRISPR lab at Berkeley, it was about 80% folks from other lands figuring out how to end sickle cell disease, how to end ALS. We have got to change the narrative that this country must bring folks who are willing to develop our soil together, to end diseases, to figure out how to create more infrastructure. Our care economy, without it, there is no tapestry in this country. So yes, we've held roundtables in this district of all the immigrant rights groups, and they are working so hard. They are over-labored. If you're a lawyer, work with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights pro bono, work with La Raza Centro Legal, go into some of the health clinics. What we have to do, I think, on the line in Congress is continue to hold the line and to tell the stories. This is an anti-immigrant, excuse me, I should say anti-immigrant if you're an immigrant of color administration. And so I'm not going to say, it's all going to be good. I don't think our children are safe. I don't think that our hardworking adults are safe that don't have papers. The president has deputized every single law enforcement agency in the executive branch to deport folks. And they're not looking for criminals. They're deporting folks from their classrooms. They're deporting folks from the banks. Folks are checking in for their appointments, their asylum appointments, and they are taking them from those asylum appointments. We have met people who have had children who needed life-saving transplants and surgeries right here at Children's Hospital, and they're nervous to take their children in for said treatments because there's a waiting time for that child to heal. And of course, you can't leave your baby in bed alone in a hospital. And they know that this administration is heartless and cruel. What we want to do is continue to speak up and humanize our brothers and sisters. And we will work towards, because once we get him out of office, we will have to build up an immigration system that is just, that is right, that figures out ways, that creates pathways to citizenship and honors folks' rights to asylum. Until then, let's hold our people. Let's hold our people.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Next.
Maybe this should be the
Last one, because I think people want to speak,
Bring
right?
it to the room, yeah. We are scared of losing our health care. What are you doing to combat cuts to Medicaid?
So the cowards and this is not, I mean, I'm not bipartisan at all anymore. You know, I really thought that I was going to be able to work really well with some of the Republicans, but the cowards in the Republican Party helped to move forth a bill that will, if it moves through the Senate in its purest form, which I don't believe it will. I don't believe it will. If it does, we take healthcare away from approximately 14 million Americans. Can you imagine the savagery of any government that would cause a sicker and a poorer United States of America? Yes, I offered 2 amendments, you know, in this, the Republicans didn't, of course, they voted all of our amendments down. We had a marathon night where Democrats, we put forth 500 amendments. We worked hard, still not hard enough. But you know, the cowardly authors of the bill, the Republican leadership, chose to make the cuts take place in November of 2026 after the midterms. So no one's losing anything theoretically, but I don't even think that that's true, because I've been to the health clinics here and they've already gotten their grants slashed. Head Start in Oakland, grants slashed, payments into organizations working with young people who are Black and brown, contracts slashed. So in the interim, while we're fighting these Medicaid and Medicare cuts, know that you all are a growing part, you know, of a durable movement who not only will vote, but will organize. We will win. Because you know what? I want to be very, very clear. In rural America, over 70% of the operating for any hospital, guess what? Comes from reimbursables from care and K. So if you're a very wealthy person, even a wealthy person here in this room, and I'm sure there's a couple, and thank you for all your philanthropy, because I know you're guys are doing some good stuff with it. And God forbid you get a diagnosis that changes your life, your whole life. But you have an amazing insurance package. It's amazing. Whether you worked for it or was handed down by grandma, whatever, it's amazing. And you're set for a knee replacement before you deal with the issue of your dialysis. 2027, the cuts hit. I hope you're not going to Kaiser, Sutter, Altamase. I'm gonna give you any hospital, just even in any hospital in the district. When you take away your reimbursements from Medicaid expansion, you cut off tens of millions of dollars from every single institution. So you don't work like that. The thing is, the Trump administration, those cronies, they've never been poor. They want to attack poor folks, but they don't understand that unfortunately, poor folks hold down the economy. Hold down the economy. When you take away cuts, when you make cuts, significant double-digit cuts to poor people's health care, even your elite institutions, what will happen to Stanford? Look at the numbers of how many folks in the county that are supported that come in to get their cancer care from Stanford. You lose pharmacists, pathologists, doctors, nurses, and residents. So while Berkeley is a very unique place in the sense that we love our politics, everybody's reading the New York Times. You know what's happening? People across the country who don't have the luxury to read the New York Times, so they're watching, they're reading, they are understanding that, hey, I really thought that they maybe were gonna go after those folks, but they're gonna come after me. And thousands of federal workers, thousands of parents who have children who have cancer, who will need ongoing care. Guess what? No, my husband died of cancer. You can't fight cancer on a budget. We lost everything trying to save Kevin. Everything, me and my kids, everything. But community. What happens when I was in a cancer care facility in Seattle trying to save Kevin's life? I met so many mothers, so many fathers. They had to quit their jobs to take care of their babies while they were in acute cancer care. Under Trump's plan, those able-bodied adults themselves would lose their access to Medicaid. This is an evil bill. So I am so clear what my job is, not just in Congress, on the floor and in committee, but all across the country, working to organize regular people, regardless how they voted, to know that they deserve something better. We will win back the House. Hakeem will be the Speaker of the House. We will build back up what they try to tear down. There's no other choice.
I think we'd like to move to the floor now.
Let's do it.
All right. So right here, we've got Helser from our team with the yellow mic. He is going to come around and bring the mic to you to ask any questions. So just raise your hand. And we'll try to get it to as many of you as you can. We're trying to get around the room.
Yeah, what we could do, like, why don't two people ask a question at once, and I promise I'll stop doing these TED Talks and go quicker, so we can actually have some more dialogue. Thank you for those questions.
Test, oh, there we go.
And I'm not gonna be able to see you if you're in the back, but that's okay, so maybe just tell me your name, if your first name possibly.
Oh, right over here, right.
Okay.
Hi, Congresswoman. It's an honor to speak with you. My name is Josh. And my question is about climate change. You know, climate change is a really urgent topic, and for a lot of people, it doesn't seem that way, but when you just look to the LA wildfires for evidence of that. And my question is, what is feasible for fighting climate change in this Congress, do you think?
Thank you, but I'm gonna answer that, let's go to the next question.
Next question, anybody? All right, right over here. Congresswoman Simon, I'm Bob. I'm just curious, I realize, you know, you're really in the fight. But there are a lot of people that we're reading about, really brave congresspeople, senators, et cetera, going to El Salvador, going to ICE facilities and being roughed up and then charged with crimes. We have people, Jasmine Crockett going to Tesla. Maybe you can come to the Tesla facility in Berkeley on Saturdays. There's generally a pretty big crowd. So I'm just 12 to 1:30. They hate us. So it's important that you're doing what you're doing in Congress, but we'd like to kind of see you in the streets, seeing you out the protests. I have pictures of Nancy Pelosi on a demonstration in Civic Center in San Francisco, Trump 1.0. So it can be done. I'm just hoping that you raise your profile because, you know, fascism is really inconvenient, but I'm not sure that we're going to be around in 4 years at the rate it's going. If you could step up everything you're doing, ratchet it up a bit, I would really appreciate it.
I love it. So I'm going to address that one first, and then the conversation about the climate and our forever growing burning earth. As I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the sandstorm that just hit St. Louis. So 100%, being out on the streets is actually the work that I've been doing for 30 years. And as one of the first members of Congress to do a direct action in the 119th Congress in the Department of Education, and then for NIH, and then for USAID, again, being physically out there. I wasn't here on the hands-off protest in the Bay Area because I was actually asked to do the national, where there's 100,000 people there. I will be continuously in the streets. It's actually how I grew and came up in movement. I didn't talk a lot about my history here tonight, but as a movement leader who believes that nonviolent direct action is the only way that we actually tackle these issues as a child who was raised by activists and organizers here in the Bay Area, as you know, a young woman who found my political and organizational home at the Young Women's Freedom Center, where again, not only did we try to shut down institutions that are now shutting down, that were housing and caging young people and segregating trans kids, it's what I know how to do. So you're absolutely right. You know, in communities where folks actually don't encourage folks to come out, whether it's the East or the West or the Bottoms or South Berkeley, those are the communities that raised me. The Tenderloin, the Fillmore, Hunters Point, back in San Francisco. I have been physically in the streets since 1995. Some of you all who know me know that. And so please don't ever think that I just want to be in a physical institution. What is extremely important, what I want you all to know, that is, as someone who's managed multiple successful institutions, you have to have an inside and outside strategy. I refuse to just be in Congress and not knowing how that institution works, from the ground to the top. So yes, I spent the last 5 months both in the streets, but also deeply understanding leadership, understanding how the building works, how the committees work, and how we are going to ravel ourselves out of this mess. Again, I didn't want to get elected to be elected. I came into office because I am an organizer, a trained organizer who has run and won not just electoral campaigns, but campaigns that change the material conditions of our people. So I love you and I can't wait to see you in the streets. Around the question around our burning earth, you know, one of the things that is going to be really, really important, you know, as the weather changes in every single state in the union, we have an opportunity to continue to organize climate deniers in real time. The administration is trying to shut down FEMA. And folks, I don't care how you vote and what you believe, as you start getting literally water coming through your second floor windows, you're going to understand that the world is changing. We not only need to continue to advance, again, our climate goals, but we have to organize with folks who actually have voting power, who voted for an administration who does not believe that the earth is warming. So it's yes and both and. It's both and that climate justice is an issue that people of color have been centering. Again, that First Nations people have been centering. Thank God it has risen literally the past 30 years to cross a chasm where we all care about it. I want to say FEMA, because people are going to need drinking water. And people are going to need boats. And so if we can, continue to push the administration as they're gutting everything else and to hold up FEMA, that's going to be extremely important. Red states will be overwhelmingly affected by weather. And so as again, I think the truth and the power is in organizing, and you'll continue to see me around the country with my colleagues doing that organizing house by house, door by door. But we're going to say FEMA, that's the short term. If you have other ideas, I would again love to talk to you. We have folks here from our district office, and again, I'm here almost every week, flying back to the district, and would love to be in conversation with you about climate goals. There are organizations, both grassroots and grass tops, in the climate justice space that we're working with, but oftentimes you know that some of the best ideas come from an everyday person who's not even organizationally aligned, but they have great ideas, and we want those ideas. Thanks.
We have the next question right here.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Evans. I live in Berkeley, and I wanted to ask if you're aware of what's being called the King's provision, section 70302, pages 562 and 563 of the bill. It's basically a Trojan horse that aims to shield the Trump administration from accountability when they break the law, to escape the possibility of being held in contempt of court if they violate court orders, and would even apply to court orders and injunctions issued before the law takes effect, basically retroactively. In essence, this provision could render the rule of law unenforceable. So that's the bad news. The good news is, I believe this bill is, well, this provision, but really the entire bill is unconstitutional. There is a bird rule. Its key point is purposes to prevent extraneous provisions not related to budget changes from being included in reconciliation bills. And any senator can raise a point of order as part of a provision that violates the bird rule. If upheld by the Senate, the provision can be stripped unless 60 senators vote to waive that rule, rather than the 51 of a pure budget provision. And there are things in this bill that aren't part of the budget. It needs 60 votes to pass, which the Republicans can't get without Democrats. And my next question is, will you support legislation introduced by Senator Cory Booker to move control of the Marshal Service from the executive branch to the judicial branch? Thank you.
So we have so many microphone problems. So thank you. I agree. So much in the bill. It's that section, but it's actually all throughout the bill. There's an attack on separation of powers. There's an attack on congressional power, judicial power. Every part of the bill is unconstitutional. So I agree there. That's why we actually have to organize the Senate. What moves through the House, it will go to the Senate, and we have to break them down to do the right thing. And so I'm really excited actually about that fight. I have a lot of energy to get back to DC in just a couple of days. And Democrats are going to organize hard. We cannot do that without the constituents throughout the country. They're going to have to go hard and be calling the senators every day. You guys are calling us every day. Progressive Democrats, we got you. Okay, the folks who actually meet, I'm across from a Republican, no one's calling that office. We're going to need to sort of ramp up what we're doing, both on the congressional side and the Senate side, to continue to let them know that we're not going to stand for this. And then, your second question, let me look at the bill. I haven't looked at Cory's bill, but I need to look at it, and I would love to get back to you. And I think our staff are listening to me right now, so we have to make sure that we put out, once we've looked at the bill, again, I would love to say I've looked at it, it's great, but I'm not going to do that until I read it. Thank you.
Test, right here.
Hi, my name is Venus Gist. I'm a resident of Hayward, California. We are here, Zakiya, my sister, and I, and God, because of the egregious behavior that we have all dealt with in the probate court system, family court systems. Are you aware of what's going on? Man, it's just egregious behavior of people getting robbed of their assets, their properties, generational wealth. I personally experienced it about 2018 with my mom. I see the Oakland Post here. They have been covering it. Tanya Dennis is a reporter that has been covering it for quite a few years. She kind of wanted to go into retirement, but we're bringing her back out because it's still occurring. You go into probate, you could have a trust and you may not have a trust, but either way, you can deal with, and I'm not saying it's all judges, all attorneys, all conservators. In my personal situation, I had a very bad conservator named Michelle Tiernan. I will say her name because I don't want anybody to use her. But this is what's happening. We're being violated. Due processes are being violated. Just the procedure. We have great laws in California, Congresswoman, but they are breaking our laws. I proposed a bill with Senator Bob Bukowski about 2019, that if the conservatee wants to remain in their home, they should have that right. But this is what the public servants are violating.
Can I just say this?
First of all, thank you. I got up. I don't want to cry. I was actually just in South Carolina this weekend and met with a lot of beautiful folks from the Gullah Geechee people. They were talking about just the same thing from state to state. And particularly, we're right here in South Berkeley. I'm gonna answer your question, but I thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Because you're talking about a state issue. I'm working now for the federal government. You guys are paying my salary, but this particular issue, we're talking about land loss. It is so prevalent in Black communities. You know, over 12,000 families, Black families lost their land right here. So we did a land acknowledgement. It's important to talk about what happened right here with Bart King. Also. And what you're talking about is probate court. One of the things I feel like we have to do, and would love to talk to you later, because coming into Congress and understanding huge limitations on what we could do is one of the most frustrating things. What I would love us to do is that maybe work with the senator's office and the assemblywoman's office, and maybe in this room right here, like folks are, my husband's mother, she went to church 19 times a week, I kid you not. And the church held her trust. But the state never saw it. And so my husband died, Grammy died, and we have been through it. So she had a little teeny piece of condo in Richmond, California that she wanted to go to my daughter. Thousands. We have to figure out how to educate our folks because this community has a lot of seniors, overwhelmingly. I'm talking about our district. And land literally is going back to the state. So maybe we have to figure out, you know, an opportunity to do a ton of education, get people their wills and trusts, figure out how to get them certified. Wealth is being lost in these communities. Wealth is being lost in these communities. And so thank you for that. And I'm hoping that we all actually hear that, even if it's not quote unquote our jurisdiction, every house, you know, the average home in this district, in the 7 cities, somebody guess what it's worth.
1.3 million.
1.01, you're close. And that's grandmama's house who has not had a new kitchen in 30 years. And we know in our communities, particularly in my community during the crack epidemic, we lost so much. It was infrastructure, land grabs like BART, which I am dependent on, so I love, but I didn't love how many people were displaced. But it was also the fact that, again, we need probate reform. Okay, so thank you.
And I just want to say this to you, that
Thank you.
Board Supervisor Nate Miney is
Yes.
aware of this.
Yes.
And he came to a screening we had a few years ago and said, I didn't know this was occurring. He has a heart for seniors and he also supports the change.
It's particularly, again, prevalent in communities, in the disabled community. Again, the ways in which people are preyed upon by lawyers when their caregivers or family members die, and we can kind of go on and on, but I actually would like to take that up. But we have a couple more questions that I think that we could do. One more, there's someone over here. Thank you all for coming out. It's clearly not enough time. I want to kind of take maybe, let's do one more after this. If you have to go, you can go, but you guys
Hi,
can go.
my name is Olivia. I live in Berkeley. I'm a neurodivergent activist. I came here to bring your attention to the fact that 20% of students consider suicide every year. The reason why this speaks to me personally is I was almost pushed to that place myself. The first schools built in America. Yes, you can. The first schools built in America were to teach Native American kids to be more white. No two minds think the same, but we are forced to do so, telling students they have to adapt to the curriculum, change themselves to better fit society's standards. Not only is this a cruel and unusual form of punishment, but an impossible impossible task to ask of anyone. My question for you is, how can we change the world to better adapt to the individual rather than asking the individual to adapt to the world?
Okay, I am so happy to meet you. Thank you so much. You know what comes to my head? Well, one, you're probably gonna be the one to like do that work. Like clearly, thank you for your power and for your clarity. Well, I'm here. I'm here. But you know, one of the things, whoever's on school board, anybody on school board here, what we have to do, honestly, is retrain our educative force. There's a book that I read a long time ago. I will give me your email and I'll give it to you. It's called Teaching to Transgress by Bell Hooks. Well, because one of the things that I think that you're saying that makes so much sense is folks learn differently. And that learning of difference should actually be the norm, right? Both Paulo Freire and Bell Hooks are sort of my pedagogical heroes. And growing up and running an organization for so long called the Young Women's Freedom Center that works with young people in the criminal justice and foster care system and gender nonconforming youth, one of the clear things that we know that we've learned over the years is that young people deserve to be young. And the structures that have been set up are oftentimes focused on an able-bodied person who ain't got a lot going on, but just being young. Well, what if actually we extended our educational systems to work for all young people? It will take, and why I said it's on us, like me as a disabled person consistently saying disabled, 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 you coming out every single day as a global world thinker and taking up as much space as possible, organizing me and others who are in leadership positions, we will change those dynamics. And thank you for literally centering you right now and other young people who are trying to find their ways in schools and in structures that do not lift them up. Those days are numbered, because you know what? We're running for office and we are winning, right? We're on school boards, you're organizing in your school spaces. I mean, it's too late, 2 days late and a dollar short. I understand, because there's so many young people that are suffering, right? But we will change those dynamics. If you are a professor of education, you can't teach unless you're teaching a young person who has learning differences or who are, again, divergent. Because we're the ones who are actually the creators and the innovators. Thank you. I want to make sure that we stay connected, okay? Thank you. I appreciate you. One last question. And I know folks have to go. Okay, Counselor is going to pick, but it's very fun, as you've had your hand up for quite some time.
Greetings, thank you for being here. My name is Akia, and I'm also speaking, thank you for all your work. Like you, disabled, and I like to say, on top of the information she shared around probate, it's a federal issue. I was blessed and inherited an estate, trust, will, everything, organized, a lawyer, everything's taken care of. Estranged sisters, 7 years after I received the estate, filed false charges. Long story short, if you're not a trustee or a beneficiary, you're not supposed to have the authority to challenge a trust. The lower court overturned that, and the appellate court, so there's a conflict between state and federal. Federal say you have to be a trustee or a beneficiary to challenge a trust. When I was at the appellate court level, because they have stolen my estate from me, they said the word only wasn't in the law.
You know what I want to do? I want to make sure. So the cool thing about being in my office is so much of what we get to do is case management, which you are owed. It's actually what we're supposed to do. So we have representatives from our senator's office. Raise your hand. Okay.
Hi, my name is Erica Neal, and I'm the district representative for Senate District 7. This is where we are right now.
There's someone else, there's somebody else. So you're from Senate, and there was somebody from Mia's office. You want to?
Hi, my name is Stella Growler. I work for Assembly Member Buffy Wicks here in East Bay.
It's amazing. Are you with another office?
Igor Trigo office.
So Igor, who is actually the head of the Democratic Party for Alameda County, I'm saying that to be very clear. In my office, we actually, outside of doing work
in the domes, right? Whether it's Sacramento, we have, all of our offices have case managers that can actually work with you on individual cases that relate to the state or the federal government. In my office, I don't know where Ellie and folks are, raise your hands. Ellie is our senior case manager. What we will do, if you all signed in, we'll make sure that we send a quick email and letting you know what case managers can do for you on the state and the federal level. Because actually what I hear, outside of everything you said, is that you lost your estate.
I still fight for it. I'm going to the Supreme Court now.
And the beauty of organizing and the beauty of being able to access elected officials, even if we can't help you, which we always try, we will hear you and try to get you to who you need to. There's pro bono attorneys, there's opportunities, there's state agencies that people will spend 20 hours trying to get to. There are federal agencies from IRS to immigration. We can kind of get to those folks a little bit quicker oftentimes. And so that's also the work. Yes, I will be fighting for you on the floor. We will be answering the calls and answering your letters. We will be doing work in committee. We will be out in the streets, right? We will be knocking on doors, not for votes, but to educate folks. We will be at fairs. Invite us to your organization, but we'll also be working with elected officials here in the state level. We gotta get past this crazy budget, May revise situation. We gotta make sure that our universities and our K through 12s are funded and that our Planned Parenthoods are funded and that we're not turning our back on criminal justice reform and that we really want safe streets and we believe that we can have law enforcement that does the right thing but works with folks who are doing work that doesn't require guns and shields. We need everybody working together. I think we have some political agreement in this room for the most part. We agree on 99% of all things in this district, and we have a real enemy to fight. And so I want to thank you all for coming out. It's the first time I'm meeting many of you. Stay up to date on our website. We're trying to do a lot more than we're gathering our communications team. You know, we're 5 months in. Give us feedback on what you don't like. I want to make sure that you know what I'm voting, how I'm voting, what the organizing opportunities are, what opportunities that you all have that you want us to engage. You are welcome to come to our office in DC. It is your house. You put me in the job and you have the power to take me out. So know that you are my boss. I work for you. You have a fighter, though. All modesty aside, I have worked in prisons and jails and on the streets. I have built organizations for birth babies. I am a grandmother. 29 years ago today, I went into labor with my oldest. My daughter is now an attorney. The little one who lost her father to cancer, she is amazing. I say all of that to say, as a mother, as somebody who refuses to turn my back on people who need us the most, I will work with all that I have for everyone in this room and beyond. Thank you so much for the honor of my life to serve you all. Let's keep doing this. See us at town halls. We have another town hall tomorrow in Emeryville. Thank you everybody for coming again. Until we're all free, until we have what we need, is when I'll stop working. I love the feedback and the accountability. So just keep it coming. I will continue to work as hard as I can on behalf of the beautiful voices in this room. Eden, you want to take us out?
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Please keep in touch. Please give us your contact info. We are here to serve you.
Thank you and good night.